So today we're just going to try to make a comparison about how a business is like a journey. It is sometimes about the destination, but it's about the journey. So in essence, like in every business, there's typically a mascot and there's typically like a company brand, brand name. So in essence, like what we're trying to do is conceptualize the idea for today's podcast about how to connect basically the hero's journey, because everybody who's a salesperson is also known as the hero salesperson, because that's what people are trying to do, is be a connector to solving problems. And so in essence, we're trying to combine that mindset also with websites as basically the same thing as applications, as the same thing as representations of applications, like mobile applications in the mobile application stores. Yeah. Welcome to the news. Stay to the end to find out how we bring it to the end, how we bring it together there. So, what we're talking about is making the hero's journey, just conceptualizing that in essence, there's basically a mascot who's a logo for the brand, and then there's the brand name. So, basically, what we want to conceptualize is the essence of getting that mascot home to the brand name. So that's kind of like what it's like. It's a depiction for developing a website, for example, just to quickly be able to develop a website to then be able to evolve that into an application, which then therefore evolves anything into a company, because anything that you can put anything on a website, and you can evolve any website into an application, and an application is a company. So in essence, there's also an application called appmysite.com, which does just that. It makes any website into an application. But it goes a little bit further than that, because typically mobile applications have a little bit more experience tied into the purpose of the existence of an application. So anyways, the point being is just to make it more of an adventure, more of like a video game story for any given energy, to try to go from one place to the destination, which is like talking about a second ago, talking about having a logo, which is a mascot for a specific in particular brand, and that mascot has got to be able to get home. It has to get home. So the problem is where the mascot is now. Where's the mascot now? What's the problem that the mascot is facing that he's trying to solve? And then the name of the company is the destination, is the home base. So once that mascot gets back at home, then in essence, that's what is being basically written on the website, is that journey. What does that mascot have to do to get home to be able to solve the problem that he's out trying to solve, to be able to get it done? And the website is just sort of a projection of what needs to happen. What are the things in between where you're at now and where you want to go necessarily, to bridge the gap with the story, with the narrative that makes life, scripted out like somewhat of a movie that has to be depicted and carried out like a princess trying to rescue the princess, basically, in a video game. So we're just trying to make that mindset transposition, that basically the simplest way to develop a company is just to go to a free website maker, like any of them, Wix or things like that you can make a free website with. Weebly's another one, that more or less you can make a free website and just establish something that is a proclamation of the two things, which is the logo and the purpose of the logo and the purpose of the mascot, and then the company name. And those two things make it so, like, for example, with our company name, it's Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios. So Dinky Tech is trying to get back to Change for Game Studios. Change for Game Studios is being built, and in Dinky Tech, the mascot is out running around trying to build, through the use of this podcast, making this podcast every day to try to eventually get back to Change for Game Studios, the metaphoric location in the sky, which just means it's a metaphoric location that basically means that place has to be built. The place, which is the place of demand, because we start with demand and we work our way to supply. That's the best way to build a business. And so we start with demand, and we're trying to build the ideal ecosystem in the future, digital age, the digital world, for Change for Game Studios and what it looks like in the future to exist. And that's the purpose of this podcast, is to try to add more depictions and visualizations of what Change for Game Studios looks like by adding up all of the the values of the different podcasts together to equal the destination, which is where Dinky Tech the mascot is trying to go. And so it's kind of metaphorical, kind of metaphysical, but nonetheless it creates a hero's journey. And another word for salespeople is hero, superhero salespeople, because people can get into their mojo, they get into their mindset of being a superhero character to help them actually sell, because they're taking on the role and an identity of the superhero salesperson that helps them have superpowers when they're trying to sell things, in the same way that a mascot is using their superpowers in the world to be able to accomplish their goal, because that mascot and that logo is aligned with the destination of where that mascot lives and where that mascot is going, is to get back home to the company, basically to the company location, which is where demand is emanating from. Demand is emanating from the company location in this metaphorical example. And so when what the representation is that when the superhero salesperson, when the logo, who is that salesperson, reaches the destination of the goal, then functionally demand has been connected with supply, and the company's purpose is starting to serve its purpose. It's starting to serve itself because it's reached the place of demand. The company name is based around the source of demand, and the supply is what the logo is a representation of. And so that's why the hero, a superhero, that's why a salesperson can be like a superhero, because they're connecting the dots of supply to demand. So they, in essence, are they're bringing that connection and making the product that is fulfilling the demand, the supply, the product. The product is another word for supply. When it connects with demand, when it's able to patch the band-aid of the demand is calling out for help. And when the supply is able to show up and patch the band-aid, that is the how the salesperson and how the connection made between the superhero nature of a salesperson is fulfilled, because that person has bridged the gap between demand, where somebody is having an issue and a problem, and then the supply, where the band-aids are. They made a bridge from the supply, from the demand to the supply, so that the band-aids could cross across the bridge and help somebody with their scraped elbow to be able to improve their lives and their world, to improve the issues that somebody was having. And so it's just like a journey. It's all about a hero's journey. But the point being is that you can make any given company by just throwing up a free website, basically, and having those two things in place, the demand and the supply. The demand equals basically the company name. Like, for example, for us, it's Change for Game Studios. That's the destination. And then basically the character, just like the Lucky Charms character on the cereal box of Lucky Charms, just like any logo is supposed to represent the character that needs to go through the hero's journey to be able to return home, basically to bridge the gap. And basically the most simple form for developing a company is just by throwing up a free website and illustrating the purpose. It's a basic purpose outline, and any given website at the same time can be transitioned into a mobile application with websites such as appmysite.com, for example. But the purpose of even saying that is because any given website can then therefore be transitioned from just an idea, a depiction, and a storyboard, for example, like a child book storyboard, for example, and that can iterate into a full movie, and that can iterate into a full franchise. Just to use the film industry example of how a storyboard can change into a film, and then a film can change into a franchise where it's selling little toys at little fast food restaurants. So franchises can also evolve into video games, mobile applications, and other accessories such as aprons for the kitchen. So that's the nature of just transitioning simple words on a website into a scaled up franchise by having the capabilities, and especially leveraging things like artificial intelligence that can create products to support your products and your given websites that you're just throwing up onto the internet to try to make real eventually, by simplifying two things: the company name and the mascot, and just how demand is living at the company name, which for us is Change for Game Studios, and then how to eventually get the mascot back home. How is the mascot going to be a superhero and go on their superhero journey to be able to help and solve that problem of demand, which is what that company name is rooted in, is the problem of demand. And that's what the mascot's journey and purpose is to go on the journey and fulfill the journey and take the owner of the website and the company brand name along with them to be able to fulfill and solve problems. So fundamentally, by putting out that website into the world, it can evolve into a digital product. It can evolve with connections with artificial intelligence tools to be able to solve real problems in real life using that video game methodology and mindset. And leveraging artificial intelligence to be able to fulfill and solve the problems using the best technology resolutions that could be, also available. And that's all for now. Let's all remember to push for world peace every single day. Let's push for world peace every single day. Let's push for world peace every single day. And let's also remember to try to clear all the animal shelters in the world. Let's clear all the animal shelters in the world, because we can foster all the shelter animals in the world. We can adopt all the shelter animals in the world, and we can hire all the shelter animals in the world to be healers for us as humans throughout all of our communities all around the world. So we can hire shelter animals as healers throughout our community, so we don't have to mistreat animals and they don't have to be, pushed aside in societies through animal shelters, which are very mistreat animals constantly, and they don't make it out alive, most generally speaking. So let's clear all the animal shelters by hiring all the shelter animals as healers, because they work for free or just for food anyways. So let's clear the animal shelters and foster all the shelter animals in the world. And that's all for now. Let's push for world peace and clear all the animal shelters by hiring the shelter animals as healers throughout our communities to be more harmonious as for all humanity. And that's all for now. Thanks again, Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios. Bye. Peace. Bye.